On this week's GTA 6 o'clock, everything that's happened in the 7 days after the trailer, emerging theories discussed, and an exclusive interview with an ex-Rockstar animator. It's all here on this week's GTA 6 o'clock. Hello and welcome to this week's GTA 6 o'clock. It's been 1 week since the release of the trailer, so we're taking a look at some of the news that's followed its release today, some of our thoughts on the theories that have started to emerge, and, as you just heard at the top, we've spoken to an ex-Rockstar developer to get their thoughts on the trailer and give us a little insight into working at Rockstar Games. Joining me, as ever, to do all of that is Dan Dawkins. Hello, Dan.
Good day to you. Good day, good day.
So yes, lots to talk about this week. We're going to kick off with some interesting facts and figures. 7 days, pretty much 7 days after the launch of the trailer now. You will be unsurprised to learn that GTA 6 is an absolutely massive game and has done loads of things for Rockstar, for Tom Petty, for the song. So their Rockstar Games YouTube subscribers have increased by 2 million. Like, there were 2 million people not following Rockstar Games before the release of this trailer. Now there are 2 million more people. That's a 28% increase, up to 9.7 million in 24 hours.
That is absolutely boggling. And as people who have, in our day-to-day lives, launched YouTube channels, to scale that quickly might take any normal organisation, could take years to reach that level, if ever.
Yes.
GTA 5 o'clock and now 6 o'clock is yet to reach that level.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Smash that subscribe button, guys. We've got 2 million subs to catch up on. It's just an amazing performance.
Yeah, it already matched the view count. It's now exceeded the view count of the GTA 5 trailer. It's the most. It was the GTA 5 trailer was previously Rockstar's most viewed video on their channel. It's now, of course, the GTA 6 trailer. They beat Mr. Beast's record for the most views of a video in 24 hours, excluding music videos.
Yes.
Because those pesky boys at BTS, I think, still just about hold that record. But it was very close.
Yeah, I did a bit of digging around the most viewed game trailers ever. I haven't got a full list with me right now, but the staggering takeaway is that there's a Google Play mobile game that's like almost near the top of that list. There's certain things, like you say, it's wise to exclude, particularly the music videos. Mr. Beast was incredibly magnanimous about his defeat. Yeah. I think he appreciates that GTA 6 is a once round the mountain every 12 years phenomenon. So he was simply pointing out, you've dinged me, guys. Thanks.
So it almost beat the BTS record, but not quite. It had close to, I think, 100 million views within 24 hours of it going live, which is 4.16 million views an hour people were watching that trailer for. As we said, mind-boggling numbers. The song, Love is a Long Road by Tom Petty, has seen a streaming increase of 36,000% on Spotify compared to this time last week. And then to top it all off, to celebrate the launch of Grand Theft Auto, Spotify has released a Grand Theft Auto radio playlist in collaboration with Rockstar, which I'm sure will feature that track.
Yes, and can I also say, if you're on Spotify looking for that soundtrack, why not search for the excellent GTA 6 o'clock podcast?
Oh, yeah.
Because we're now on Spotify. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that shameless link while we were talking about Spotify. A question I wanted to put into the ether was, these numbers are absolutely mind-blowing. Even though part of you expected it to be the biggest launch ever, it's still mind-blowing. This is on the back of what can only be described as a leak and a botched launch. Now, do you think, and we'll never know the reverse case, do you think the leak helped or hurt where they could have got had it launched at the 9 a.m. Eastern Time as originally planned?
I think the stats around the views in 24 hours probably will be similar. The views within the first few hours probably would have been a lot different. Yeah. Because as people heard about it, found it, went to view it, it took them not that long, as we said last week, 10 to 15 minutes to release it officially once it started going around Twitter and other social networks. I think if there'd been the moment at UK time, 2 p.m., everyone huddled around their various laptops, computers, work machines, wherever they can find to take a break to watch it, that initial spike in how many people watched it within the first hour probably would have been a lot higher. I don't know if it's the 24 hours or the 12 hours would have made a difference from people watching it when they woke up that morning as opposed to watching it that afternoon. I guess they might have had more time to watch it multiple times, but I don't think they would have broken the record had it been released at 2 p.m.
Yeah, it's really, we'll never know the reverse case. What I think is clear is what a cultural phenomenon GTA really
was everywhere.
is. Absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to look at once they had announced that the trailer was coming with that background and very minimalist text that then not everyone, quite a lot of other studios were doing announcements at a similar time and just ripped it off and just copied it. And everyone was on a pastel-y background with, I think there was a Halo one. I think Fortnite did it. It's just like, oh, everyone is Rockstars. If that works for them, let's try it for us. Okay, so let's move on then to, now we've had time to digest everything. We've had 7 days of looking at the trailer over and over again. There's a few points from our breakdown episode that we should go over. Kicking it off with something that we didn't get to at the time, the fun fact about Florida that was named La Florida, or the Flowery, by a Spanish explorer called Juan Ponce de Leon, which would suggest that that's how Rockstar have ended up with the Leonida. Is that what we're going to say? I think I'm going to say it's pronounced Leonida, like Florida.
Leonida.
You going for that?
I in my mind I say Leonida, but maybe I'm too enamored to the Greek gods and Roman emperors, which sounds more correct, like Leonidas. But I agree with you. Like, it's Florida. Should it be Leonida? This is a conversation for another day as we sit here pronouncing it 1,000 different ways.
Big debate in the comments. Let us know how you are saying it.
Yeah.
Until it gets said out loud by Rockstar, I guess we just have to wait.
We do not know. I was going to say quickly, shout out to people who went into the comments on our trailer breakdown to politely correct us on a few issues, which we completely expected because we were reacting to the trailer almost cold. It was like within a few hours we hadn't even assembled our own thoughts. We wanted to get something out there. Big shout out to the commenter who literally lives in Florida, who pointed out that we may have got in a muddle while we were discussing where the lake sits relative to the city and various different things. That was a really great comment. We'll see if we can dig that one out for you. And a shout out to people who are pointing out to me, this is me, my mea culpa, where people were saying I was describing Lucia as Latino and it should be Latina.
There you go.
So I am sorry and I've learned. Thank you.
Yes, and on that point, we have gone back and had a look through some of most or all of your comments, and one of the things that came up was this scene that we'll get producer Nathan to put up on screen with the car meet and them doing donuts around does look very much like it is the filming of a music video, or at least the backdrop for that social media clip with the two ladies on the car dancing. If you put them side by side, you can actually see people on top of the car in that clip. So that's something that we missed. Great spot. All of you, thanks for pointing that out. One of the other moments in that social media clip was the gator incident going into the restaurant or department store. That actually did happen in real life. Like we said, pretty much all of those moments from the social media clips are real life incidents that have now been interpreted into the world of GTA. I think there's been a great video. Someone's basically matched them up side by side, and you can see them that they are exactly the same. The thing that I found out about that gator incident, which if it is the right one, that actually happened much further north than where Vice City is and Miami is. Like, it happened up near Tampa.
Okay.
Up near Tampa Bay. Now, we know, obviously, that Rockstar can move things around, and obviously that doesn't have to happen like for like in the game as it did in real life. But there are the suggestions flying around that there could be multiple cities, or at least multiple larger dwellings.
Yeah.
in GTA 6? And if they were going to do something, could the map be even bigger than people have started thinking about? Like, we will see, and we will definitely discuss that in future episodes.
I think it's a near certainty that the map is bigger than we believe, and this was certainly the feeling from the comments, particularly from the Florida resident who'd commented on what we'd said. As James says, we will do an episode dedicated entirely to what we believe of the map. You can already look on dedicated GTA communities, and there's about 5 different flavours of maps doing the round. Some are based entirely on what we know from the trailer, so it's like this is the factual map as far as we know. There are maps based on what we saw in the leaks. They're really extensive leaks, so unless they fundamentally rewired the geography of the game, it feels like there's probably some pretty good clues in there. And then some based more on real life geography and the way people were compact. The thing is, if all the 5 different flavours of map, they're not really that different. So for better or for worse, I feel like we're going to be able to build a quite compelling picture of what the world of like Leonida looks like really soon, and we'll dedicate a full episode to that. And to be fair, even going back to GTA 5 and when we were doing GTA 5 O'Clock, the GTA mapping community wasn't as sophisticated then, probably, and even then they basically nailed the map.
Yeah.
So I think that we're in a position to probably spell out a pretty good picture, maybe too good for some people, but it'll be an interesting episode.
Yeah, and on that point, I think some people are going to say that it's impossible to have multiple cities, like big cities, because of the hardware limitations. But as a brilliant segue, as you're about to hear in this upcoming interview we have, Rockstar are really good at pushing the limits of current hardware and tech and finding new ways to make things work. So it's not, I don't think, out of the question that they can find a way to, especially now everything's on SSDs and its streaming tech is much better. They could find a way to load something in very quickly as you're traveling to it and it not be an extreme hardware limitation. Like, we will see, but yeah, as I said, a brilliant segue into the next part of the show, which is an interview, a special interview with Mike York, who's an ex-Rockstar animator. He worked on GTA 5, he worked on Red Dead Redemption 2, he's also worked on other huge titles, including God of War and Mortal Kombat. You can probably see some of his work on screen now. I do mention this in the interview, but it is worth saying that what we are about to hear are just Mike's opinions. They're based on his personal experience while he was there at that specific point in time. Things have changed quite a lot over time, or maybe they haven't, but that is the kind of information that we don't have. So this is purely from Mike's point of view. You may have seen a recent video on his channel, which is called Yorks Reacts. We'll put a link in the description, which is him reacting to the trailer. That has now had over 650,000 views at the time of recording. He discusses some elements of the trailer. So we thought that it would be great to speak to him directly, and I started by asking him what he did while he was working at Rockstar. So Mike, thanks for coming on and talking to us. It's great to have you with us. Hello.
No, thank you. Awesome.
We're going to go through a few things here based on your time at Rockstar. Now, I'm going to caveat all of this with that you don't work at Rockstar anymore, but you are still an animator in the industry, right?
Yeah, I'm currently working at a company called Highwire Games.
Cool. So with that being said, what we're discussing here is just your opinions and speculation based on the experience you have and had at the time. Like, does that about cover where we're going to be at?
Yeah, I appreciate that, by the way. just for legality reasons or something.
Yeah, no worries. So then for our listeners and viewers, do you just want to give them a quick overview of what you did when you were working at Rockstar and how you got there and then what that led to and what you do now?
Sure. So the most of the time I was there, I was doing nothing but animation. And a lot of times it was motion capture cleanup. So it was, those guys in the spandex suits with the balls, and it gets spit on to Michael or Trevor or whoever. And then it gets brought into my program, the program we were using, which is Motion Builder. A lot of companies use Motion Builder. I'm currently using that at the company I'm at right now. And then I would take that motion and perfect it and blend it, and I would animate the fingers really well, and I would clean up the feet we have a lot of, you get spongy feet sometimes on a mocap stage from them walking on pads when they're doing stunts or any kind of thing like that. So you clean up everything and make it look, And I did a lot of stuff on GTA, actually, a lot of different things, little cycles. So like if you were like there's missions where you like there's like a guy in GTA 5, I forget what his name is, but he's like skydiving, and you meet up with him on like the top of the roof on one mission, and on another mission you meet with him, he's like on the back of this it's like a truck, and the loading dock truck thing, and before you meet him he needs to play an animation of like him waiting there for you. And so a lot of animations I did were like that. I would like make this like a big cycle, 1,000 frames or something really long, that you could break out of kind of at any moment. Once you get close to the guy, right? Once you're like 4 feet away, he'll go it's in GTA 5, but when he walked home, he goes, "Hey, what's up, pussy?" That's what he says to. That's what the guy says to you. And the game is like really. Sometimes animations are not like huge, or they're not. You don't feel like they're big and impactful in a game, but they are. They're all. Everything is a piece of the pie, and so I don't mind doing any of them. They're all kind of a piece of it. I did a lot of the mime. If you've seen the mime in there, I did a whole bunch of animations with the mime. And what was cool with the mime, what was really interesting, was the motion capture actor. The mime was a real mime. So we hired a real mime, and the mime was really good. He was phenomenal at acting and doing the mime stuff. But not only that, he was great for motion capture and animation because he saved us time. And the reason why I say that is because we had him in like these positions where he would do all this stuff, and then he'd go into this little position. He would like drop his arm and go like that, like a little robot, and then he'd go into a little, another motion that we hired him to do or whatever, right? But what was nice was that he would come back to the exact same position as when he started, like almost perfectly, because he was so good at like knowing where his body was in 3-dimensional space because of being a mime, of his job type. And so like I would come back to my desk and I would come to clean up his animations, and I would make a starting pose, and then he would do all his motion, and I'd go to paste in his end pose, and he'd just go, eh, and he'd just move like a tiny bit, and I would go, wow. So I did a lot of different stuff like that. I did character switches. I animated a lot of character switches. Every time you switch to Franklin, you switch to Michael, it'll play a little animation until you're able to like walk forward. It'll show Franklin eating chips in his apartment. That's one of them I did. Michael's, he's like by a thing and flicks a cigar. There's a whole bunch of different ones we all kind of worked on. Trevor wakes up on the beach. I think you might have seen it in my demo reel. There's a bunch of different stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't remember all of those things. Like, it's crazy to as soon as you mention them, I'm like, yeah, I do remember that happening. I was just to say, like, we'll probably get into it in a minute, but the mime you mentioned was in one of the really early trailers for GTA 5, right? So is that?
I think so. Yeah,
that you did?
I have to go watch back. I need to go look at those. I need to go because I remember a couple of my shots are in trailers. Yeah, I think there's some stuff in RDR2 trailer as well that I had in there as well. Just some tiny stuff of like this coyote grabbing a squirrel. A coyote comes and like catches a squirrel and runs off, and it's like but it's a small piece,
Yeah, absolutely. That's really great. So obviously, when you were working there on a GTA game, like what? I mean, you just briefly touched on it, but like, what's that like? Like, what's the vibe like? Is it? How do you go about your working day?
Well, for me, I only can speak for me, right?
Of course.
And when I was at the studio, I was one of the most hyped guys there about what was going on, because I was like, these guys are fans of the game too, right? Don't get me wrong. A lot of the people that are at these studios, they wouldn't be working at Rockstar if they're not fans of the game. But they were also, when I came over there, a lot of them had been there for a while. They've already worked on games like Max Payne and Hits and done all this stuff. So I was like a giddy kid over there. I would be really excited when we dropped a trailer or whatever, and I would look around and go, "Oh my God, you see how many views we got? Oh my!" Like when we released GTA 5, whoa, I was blown away at the amount of copies we sold within 24 hours. But a lot of people around me, they weren't that impressed. They're like, "Oh, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool." I'm like, no, you guys don't realize how it made, But I was like a kid, like they're more used to it than I was, I think, and I was starstruck.
Sure. Yeah, and like also, what are those moments like? Do you remember like launch day? Was everybody in the studio and looking at numbers, or was everyone just sort of, like you say, a few people just nonchalantly like, yeah, it's launch day, whatever?
Well, honestly, there's certain groups of. Yeah, it depends. Like we had like a meeting thing, I believe. If I vaguely remember, we had like a like one of those like calls, like a team view call type of thing with a bunch of people, where they watched it and that type of thing. But it's a whole nother vibe over there. It's different as far as like when a trailer releases and whatnot. A lot of times, a trailer, everyone on the company will see the trailer multiple times before it's even shown. But over there, a lot of the employees, we don't even see the trailer until the day of, just like you guys. And it's like, what? So a lot of people at the company are excited to see it. They can't wait to pop it open, and when it launches, they're watching it right with you. And that might just be one of those things to mitigate any kind of leaks or any kind of, who knows? But a lot of times, the trailer will just be kind of shown to the people that are working on the trailer internally.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, because I saw a load of people from Rockstar saying things on Twitter when the GTA 6 trailer leaked. Oh, it would have been really cool to have that moment and experience it all with you guys. And I, assumed that they were just, and as we said at the beginning, this is just what happened when you were there. Things might have changed now. They're working on 6, but
yeah,
I
exactly.
assumed, that they would have all seen it and been excited by it. But if that's still happening, then they genuinely were waiting to watch it with everybody else.
Yep, they probably were. Yep. Yeah.
And what do you think the reception to the leak would have been like internally? Because I guess back in the day, like that stuff didn't really ever happen, especially at Rockstar, right? They were so watertight.
You got to remember, or the people have to remember, that Rockstar takes a lot of precautions to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, so like when I was over there, like crazy, in fun fact or whatever, I would be working, and I had a stand-up desk at one point where me goes up and I could stand up. Well, now my monitors are higher, right? And one of the bosses or somebody was like, hey, like, no, put your thing down, break. And I'm like, what? I'm like, wait, we're like in our own company. I'm thinking, what do you mean? Who's going to see it? My other employees? He's like, no, the window. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, yeah, he's right. You could probably see me or my monitor through the window if you were like had a drone, or you were like at a certain angle and you could probably see it, right? And so that's a big so I immediately went over and like closed the blinds and did everything, and I realized, I thought, geez, that's really like trying to be, wow, I can't even. And then like a month later or something like that, a couple months later, there was a drone caught flying outside of our building, and we were pretty sure that they were trying to look inside the windows of the building to see what we were working on. And that's how much you have to be careful, and that's why you don't have an address posted online of where the studio is located or any of this stuff, because the fans of Rockstar are rabid. And I've never seen any fan base more dedicated to trying to get a leak than the Rockstar fan base. Secrecy is one of the most important things at Rockstar, and there's for a good reason. So to me, like, okay, you brought up that leak. Okay, you asked me like my opinion on the leak or something about I'll give you my opinion on the current leak. And the current leak on GTA 6 is a shame. It's a bummer. Because here's the thing, they're not ready. Like when that person came in and sniped a whole bunch of footage and like just directly leaked it that is like super in progress. You don't even know what you're looking at half the time. That could have been a character that wasn't even the final model of what they might have had the final model, but it wasn't even being used in that build. They were just testing something. Like, you never know. And then all the audience is like basing it off of what they just saw. And with Rockstar, the people will show it when they're ready. And I wish the whole fan base would respect that in a sense, and just wait, like all the rest of us do. That have like me, I just wait until I don't ask no questions. I don't, because it's really important in our field to keep it secret. Because guess what? When you keep it secret, when it finally comes out, it makes it so much more impactful. Like, people are blown away because they have no idea what they're gonna see. But if they see little pieces of it, they build assumptions, and it's gonna be a female protagonist. I wish they knew nothing until the day that this trailer got released. I wish the entire world knew absolutely nothing, because all those guys work so hard over there to keep it a secret, and work so hard on only knowing it's a female protagonist or whatever, right? And this is a big part of the game, and they want to kind of keep that close by until release, And so when something gets leaked, man, it's just such a bummer, especially this one.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying on the show as well, is like, wouldn't it have been so much cooler to have not known anything about it, had all the speculation leading up to it, and then go, oh my god, it's back in Vice City, it's modern day, although there's a woman.
Exactly. Even not digging. So, like, I know this a lot about maybe what your channel might do and other channels, right? They dig to try to find out what might be in the game or whatnot. But by doing that, you're looking under the Christmas tree. You're peeking under the Christmas tree, and you're looking at the presents in Mom's closet before Christmas. And if you just wait for Christmas, man, right? And like, that's why a lot of my reaction videos, I would say 98% of them, there's like one or two I have to film again because of a difficulty, but almost every one of them is a legit, I am seeing that for the first time. And then right after that, I'm recording, like the whole recording process is like almost one take. What you're seeing is what you get from me. Like, this is exactly what's happening, right? So it keeps it authentic, I feel. Awesome.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about the most recent trailer, and I know you've done a reaction on your channel, which we'll put a link to in the comments below, but there's a couple of things in there I wanted to talk to you about briefly. And one of the things you mentioned was, what I wanted to ask was, how much of that do you believe is like what you think would be in-game, or at least in-engine? And when you were there on GTA 5, is that always a thing for, GTA trailers to contain that sort of footage as opposed to, pre-recorded, pre-rendered stuff?
Yeah, from my personal experience and what my personal opinion is on what all the new footage that's in the trailer, I believe is probably all 100% in game. I think that all of it is all running kind of like in my latest video I explained, it's running in real time per se, right? Mm-hmm. But they're probably doing some things to boost up density of shadows and different things to just help it a bit for the trailer. It doesn't mean that it's not in there like that. Like I was saying in my video, you could probably drive a car, like if they accidentally messed up their coding and they let a car come through that area and let a green light go and let cars just flow through there, guess what? There'll be cars flowing in there and running into them, right? But they have to deliberately go in there and turn off cars turn off this, which you can do in the engine. You can go in, a lot of these game engines like Unreal, everybody has it. It's not just Rockstar kind of proprietary, right? These are all things that you can do in a game engine to test a game. If you're in there, let's say this wasn't Rockstar, right? It's Ubisoft, and they're working on, what's that game, Watch Dogs. In that game engine, they probably have a button to turn off all the cars, turn off all the trees, turn off, or put low trees. And when you hit low trees, it only puts, some trees, but not every tree that you're going to see when you actually physically play the game. So I think, yes, I think all the stuff that's in the trailer is actual in-game footage from their engine running there. And when we see the final game, it's going to probably be really close to that, if not better. It's probably going to be better.
Great. And so when you were working on it, was there a sense that that GTA 5 and I assume then in 6 when it comes out in a year or so is like, are they pushing the consoles already like to the limit? Was 5 pushing, I guess it came out on PlayStation 3, which is crazy to think about.
Which is you answered your own question. Yes, it was. It was. Think of it like a towel that you get wet and you're draining every last drop out of the towel. I remember sitting around people that were like, every little megabyte you could get out of for memory. Oh, if we do this, that's what's so smart about the guys over there is they've been doing it for so long. They know little places to cut corners or ideas to we can take away this and then it'll give us a bigger boost on this part of the game. And, they figure out all these little solutions to stuff. And each generation, they try to do that. And you want to, it's like one of those things you want to do it anyway. It's almost like a no-brainer because you have only so much space on a hard drive. You have only so much, and the more stuff you can squeeze out of it, the higher resolution your character's face can be in the game and whatnot, right? So if you figure out something that saves a bunch of polygons being able to shown on the screen or whatnot by hiding a trash can in the background or doing these certain things that will boost up the scene, then you want to do them in that moment. Just like my best example is games like Naughty Dog does, like Last of Us and Uncharted and whatnot, because they're putting you in this little pocket of the game, and that's why it's so detailed, because you're only being seen or shown a tiny bit. You're not seeing a whole city of people walking around and milling about. If you're seeing a whole city of people, every one of those dudes needs animations. They all need this, they all need that, and that just bogs down the entire machine, the entire game. And that's, like I said in my recent video, that's what makes their stuff so impressive. It's like, not only do their characters look pretty good, but they got 70 of them walking around right now in the in the scene, right? Go ahead. Another developer tries to do that, they're going to have 30 of them, and they're still, because they haven't found out these really unique ways of optimization, and
Obviously, with all of the GTA games, the observations of America and in 6's case, Florida, have always been a key part of the game. What's your take on the depiction of Miami that we've seen so far?
I love it. I think it's really neat because you're seeing a little slice of America that's raw and uncut, and that's what I want to see from GTA. I was really worried that they were gonna, put a filter on themselves on this game, and be kind of scared because of all the cancellations that's been going on with different companies and different things that they say. And it's really easy for people to take what they do the wrong way in a game. Mm-hmm. But everybody has to remember, it's a game. It's just a game. It's not. It's all satirical, comedic.
Yeah.
They're just poking fun. They're just having fun, and that's why. But people take it too far sometimes. But in their case, I think in Florida, you can't take it. A lot of that stuff really happened. I saw the video recently, and these things really go down in Florida, and that's why I even mentioned in my video, this probably happened. Because this stuff happens all the time in some of these places. When I lived in Beverly Hills, so I lived in Beverly Hills for a little while, and I was just driving one day, and I look over, and there's a naked man, and he was acting all. and just walking down the street, sassy, like shaking his hips. And I'm going, and everyone around him was just looking at him like, there's a naked guy right now, just walking down the street. What is happening? And because he was in a certain part of Beverly Hills, or in that area where, like, you know, a bunch of weirdos hang out, and it's very interesting. Melrose, for instance, Melrose Avenue. You could do a whole GTA right in that area. I'm telling you, Melrose is always different. There's always weird people milling around. Where I live now in Denver, Colorado, oh, dude, you could do a bunch of cool stuff downtown. Because there's characters that hang out there. So I love it. I love what they do in there. I hope they never, you know, when people say, don't change, don't ever change. I hope Rockstar doesn't ever change. But it's hard not to, because a lot of the people have left, including myself, right? A lot of people that contributed to the feel and the stuff that a lot of people love are gone. They're at different companies. A lot of them.
Yeah,
and a lot
like,
of the... Go ahead.
A lot of the higher ups, right? Like Leslie Benzies and Dan Houser and Imran Shawar. Like, do you think that's changed or would have had an impact on the creative direction and that kind of stuff?
I personally think yes. Yeah, big time. And only because, from my understanding, you know, these higher up people, okay, like, I don't know this, so I don't take this as fact per se. I don't know if this is what really happened. It's just how it kind of felt, was that the higher ups were the ones who wrote the story, and we were just executing the story. We were just creating their sandbox for them. They're the ones that had the ideas of, oh, there's going to be a guy like this. He's going to be like this. He's going to be in this part of the city. We want these type of animations on him. Blah, 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 blah. Well, those type of guys are gone. Yeah. There's new guys in their place that are, you know, probably fans of the game and worked at other studios or whatnot. But the original dudes that are, like you said, I think Leslie Benzies and different, you know, a lot of those guys had a big say in what came out in the final product, especially Sam and Dan Houser. I mean, those are the owners of the company, so I'm sure they would have the biggest say in what was going on over there. So yeah, I would think that it changed a lot, but we'll see when it comes out, right? It'll probably still have that feel.
So you were there, obviously, well, for the launch of GTA 5 and for the launch of Red Dead 2.
No. Well, I was there for the launch of GTA 5, but I left like halfway in between Red Dead 2 or something.
Right, okay. So do you know, do you get a sense of, I think you touched on it earlier, but like key decisions that were made for things that were going to be in the trailer, or like the process of, oh, okay, we're going to make a trailer, it's going to come out on this day, therefore we need this, and this? Or was it all sort of just on your task list and you just did things and then it was like, oh, that bit made it into the trailer?
Yeah, a lot of times the trailers a lot of times the trailers in a lot of games, not just including Rockstar, but a lot of times the trailer's composed of a bunch of different stuff from the game. It's random bits of everything. So yeah, like I said, I worked on the coyote catching the squirrel or whatever, and I had no idea it was going to even go into the trailer. No clue. Until I saw the trailer and was like, oh, snap, there's my animation. Hell yeah. Right? But I didn't know at all. Because someone else probably took my animation, put it on a coyote, put it in there, put special cameras around it, special lighting. They made like their own little vignette, they call it, their own little scene to use for the trailer, with assets that are kind of already kind of been done, or, you know, sometimes it's like that. That's why sometimes you'll see like a scene in a trailer in a game and like it'll look a certain way, and then you go into the game, you're like, it's a little different, like, and you're like, oh, like that's not there anymore, and they put something else here, because by the time the game came out they changed a bunch of different stuff and they've reorganized, you know, it just depends. A lot of times what they make for the trailer is some of the pieces are kind of catered toward the trailer a little bit. Like in my latest video I was talking about that with the flamingos. Like in game you might have 20 flamingos around, but in the trailer, let's put like 60 of them, and let's have some flying behind, and because it's gonna look really epic in the trailer. But we don't really need that many of them when we're in there and going through that. It'll still be okay. People are not gonna be mad that there's not 60 flamingos per se, right?
Yeah, right. It's more about like the vibe and the feeling.
Yeah,
right?
you're painting a picture sort of with the trailer, and the best one you can.
Yeah, man. Like walking down like Ocean View with all the neons and the hotels.
And I've been
it's
there
raining.
personally. I know what it's like. I've been there. I've walked around there. I've had dinner right along the beach on the places over there. So I can't wait to play the game. Be like, oh, what? Like look at because they have a good way of like replicating what's in real life sometimes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Just I wanted to get your final thoughts on the trailer from being a dev at the studio to now being a fan, like you've said in your videos, like as a fan, like what were your well, Anna's a developer, I guess.
Sure.
Did you have some favorite scenes in it? What was your final takeaway?
I think the most thing I'm excited about is the setup, the story, the protagonist feel, the male and female ride or die, Bonnie and Clyde style. At least that's what I think they're doing. I have no
that's
idea,
what we
but
think
that's
they're doing.
Yeah. And that excites me because I think that like that opens up a different style of gameplay for them a little bit. A lot of times it's been like this one person that you play, and whether it be Max Payne or the different games, you're playing as one protagonist. Even if you're switching between them, sort of, you still feel like you're like this one dude. And I just feel like this one is like a team. It might be a team effort between you and him, and then that creates a bunch of new drama, a bunch of cool cutscenes, a bunch of cool scenes that are gonna make a really good story out of this game, I feel. So that's what I'm excited about. Like after watching the trailer, what I took from it was like, ooh, they're going a little bit different here. Like, yeah, they're gonna give you the city vibe. You can walk around, you can do this, you can punch the guy that's playing guitar on the side of the street or whatever, right? But I think they might bring something very different. Like these are I'm just gonna throw out a prediction, by the way, because I had a thought today. I thought, ooh, what if they did this? That'd be dope. Because they have character switching, right? You switch between Franklin, Trevor, and if you played the game GTA 5, at the very last scene, the very last epilogue or whatever, the mission, you're constantly switching between them, and you're fucking, oh my god, it's like the most gnarly mission ever. Right? Ever in video games. I remember when we released that game and I played it and I played the whole mission all the way through. I was like, this is the most epic mission in gaming history ever. And at that time it was, because there was nothing like it. Switching between the three characters, like soon as this one was going crazy, oh my god, get over to Michael. Oh my god, get over to Franklin. It was gnarly. And I have a feeling it would be really cool in this new one that it's Bonnie and Clyde style. You're switching between her outside the window, and then you switch to him, and you're like driving, and you're like both in the car, but you're switching between the two of them. And I thought that would be really fun. That would be a little different. But who knows what they're gonna do with it? And the most part I'm excited about too is the strangers. There's going to be so many cool, unique missions, dude. I'm telling you, I guarantee it. Because they do a lot of, like, research on that stuff. And then they'll, like, look for, like, unique characters. And then build, like, a big background story behind them. And I love that stuff. Because a lot of times you'll just drive by it and you won't even know that, ooh, you could have went and talked to that guy and did whatever. And there's a secret in GTA 5 that people didn't know for so long. And I thought it was just part of the game. But Trevor, outside of his... what do you call it? His trailer. There's a rag on the table, and it's in my animation, on my demo reel. But you can pick the rag up and sniff the rag, and then you pass out. Well,
I remember that.
You didn't know that as a player. Like, there was no like, hey, go sniff the rag.
Yeah.
You just like kind of walked around his thing, and you're like, oh, what's this? And you like pick it up, and all of a sudden it plays this animation, and you end up like on the net, and that's cool because that's like a secret thing, sort of. No one even, they don't ask you to go there. They don't do any. I can't wait for that stuff in the new one.
Yeah. It's gonna be so awesome. Well, like, I mean, if we're talking about secrets, I feel it'd be remiss of me and our audience not to mentioned the Mount Chiliad mystery from GTA
Yeah,
5.
yeah,
Like us and the rest of the community looked into that for so long. Like,
Is that the one with the ape guy?
is with the picture at the top of the mountain.
Oh,
Like the
okay.
big pyramid of
Yeah.
things.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
a big metal door that you can never get into.
That's funny. See, there's a lot of stuff I didn't know about, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was going to be my question. Like, did you ever know? Was it discussed that there was ever anything planned for that beyond just a mural at the top of the mountain?
No. A lot of the stuff I would hear wind of or something. So like, one time someone walked by and they're like, "Dude, did you know there's like 50 spacecraft particles strewn all over the thing? And apparently we're gonna let everybody find them. It's like some kind of mission where people got to go find these spaceship parts all around the world." And I'm like, "What? That's kind of cool." But I never went and found them myself. I tried to even do it. I got the book that like shows you where they're all at, but I it's hard. Like anybody that's like, "Oh, I 100% of that game, I'm all." Like, bro, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that. Yeah, I remember that collecting the spacecraft mission
Parts, yeah. There's
which
like
was
parts
like
and stuff. And,
like a side
There's a
mission.
lot of hidden stuff in the game. You know, there was stuff in the game that never made it into the game that I can't talk about. That I thought, oh my god, this is going in the game. What?
Yeah, great. Well, yeah, that Chiliad one will stick with us forever, I think, and it will forever be a mystery of like what it was meant to be, if anything. Or it's
We
just
think that
there
stuff's
to-
really cool. Like when I was at the studio, it like hide something and then wait for years for people to find it. You know, that's kind of neat. I like that stuff. It's cool, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us here.
All right.
Thank you so much for talking to us. You can check Mike
thank
out
you.
on his YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@YorkReacts. We'll put a link in the description. You should go over there, check out his channel, have a look at some of the videos, click subscribe, hit the bell, do all of those nice things.
Yeah, appreciate
throw
it.
your support his way.
It's free.
It's free. Drop a comment. Go over there, let him know we sent you, so he knows where everyone's come from. But Mike, thanks again so much. It's been really insightful. Great to have you on the show. Good luck with everything, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you, James. Keep in touch.
So there we are. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks again to Mike. It was great to talk to him. And as I said just then, go over to his channel and let him know that we sent you. If there's anyone else you'd like us to speak to about GTA 6, please do let us know in the comments, and we will try our best to hook up another interview if that is something you are keen to hear on. Dan, just quickly before we go, wanted to get your thoughts on that interview. Was there anything that you wanted to call out specifically?
I think there were lots of little details that were fascinating, and I think this is the level of insight we don't normally get from Rockstar. We must stress, like you said before the interview began, this is a former Rockstar employee, so it's quite possible that the Rockstar of today is not the Rockstar of yesterday. The culture might be different, etc., etc. But I think there's certain realities of working in a large dev studio, you know, of hundreds, if not thousands of people that are hard to escape from. One of many things that jumped out to me, one was when he confirmed essentially in a company that large, there will be people who work on the game and have been part of the studio, but who will have literally not seen the trailer until the day of the presentation. And I think this was something that came through in the there was a lot of reactions from Rockstar devs you could read on X or Twitter on the night, and unsurprisingly, for a lot of them, there was a real sense of disappointment. Well, I think internally, when you probably work so hard, particularly in, to a degree, a siloed way, I imagine, where you're working as an animator or an audio engineer and you've got your little patch you walk, you don't get to see the big picture, and someone else in this giant organism is creating this. And I think you would have wanted to do like a watch party like everyone else and gone, and that's why I've worked so flipping hard. And I think there was a palpable sense of sadness on his part for everyone who he may or may not have worked with before, who knows the composition of the studio, but a sense of sadness that they didn't get to share that moment. And that extended to all of us in the world, where I think we all felt that just that nagging sense that if only we could have all gone popcorn moment, sit down, here's the big theatre reveal. But we can't rewind history. Still thought it was interesting to hear him confirm that.
Yeah, and you're right. It definitely did seem that a lot of the people were like disappointed that they didn't get to be, you know, in an office or in an environment together with people who had also worked on that game and being like, right, this is the time. And because then, you know, the reaction videos and everything is going to be so spread out and sporadic, they don't get that kind of thing of going, okay, now let's watch Twitch and see everyone talking about it, like just because, you know, they've missed that moment. So disappointing, and you can really understand, like you say, you know, if a lot of the people in that studio haven't seen the trailer, that they would have really wanted to be there with their co-workers and be like, okay, let's launch the thing, let's see what people think.
And I also know that, for example, Rockstar employees listen to this show, and they've contacted us to say we listen to this show and, you know, keep doing the good work. First of all, thank you for making the game. That's quite earnest. And, you know, I hope you can find something in this show, because we're all about bringing people together to celebrate it. To extend from that sense of paranoia and secrecy, and it's such a shame that got ruined. There was a marvellous anecdote, I think, within that interview where he talked about working at his desk and having a stand-up desk and having his monitor visible, and someone had pulled him up on it and said, like, you can't do that. And he was like, well, who's going to see it? We're in an office full of Rockstar employees. What on earth is the problem? And he'd been told, well, you know, look out the window. And there'd been apparently an incident of people flying drones outside the office. Because, you know, at an office of that scale, that's very definitely, it's not that difficult to find where the Rockstar office is. So people could, you know, go outside or do whatever. This sort of thing is probably a real concern. And whether it's renegade YouTubers or whether it's other companies or God knows who, there's a huge, you know, commercial and critical advantage in knowing what's going on at Rockstar. So that is the level of paranoia.
Yeah, and I think important to note that it's definitely not just Rockstar. Like, you know, we've been speaking to people in the industry for ages now, you know, like 10, 15 years, and interviewing loads of developers and stuff. And that happens all the time. It's why, you know, nearly all of the game development studios are basically dark most of the time when you walk in, and it's like, oh, why aren't any of the lights on? Why are all the blinds shut? It's because they are all in just, you know, city centres and that kind of thing. And you can quite easily, if you wanted to, walk past a window and maybe see something you shouldn't if all the blinds are open. So it's not just Rockstar. I'm sure at Rockstar it's, you know, even more stringent, but it definitely, that kind of security happens everywhere. And I think that's an important note on, you know, everything Mike was saying in that interview. He wasn't just drawing on his experiences of Rockstar. He was drawing on his experiences across the industry, and like all of that things that he was talking about are present everywhere at every studio that he's been in, I felt.
Yeah, I mean, just as a comedic aside, I remember going to a famous Japanese development studio where at the center of the studio there is a tiny, it's Konami, right? It's Konami. There's a tiny cartoon, not cartoon, a tiny van, you know, like a dinky toy or a miniature toy. And it's a replica of the original van that Konami began from. And I was in the studio. It was like, oh, look, it's a tiny thing. And I went over to it. And it was honestly like I was about to touch the crown jewels. You would have thought, you know, something really amazing had happened. And I was pulled back, don't take pictures, don't do this. And that's it. That's a tiny car. You can only imagine the levels of secrecy around these games that are, you know, in the case of GTA, a multi-billion-dollar proposition. Secrecy is utterly paramount. A few other details I thought were really interesting from your chat. Loads of great bits. One was him being quite clear in his view that he felt, this is his view obviously, that it was 100% in-game. And that was based on, I guess, his experience and his gut. James and I were discussing this off air. We've seen a lot of games, as have you all. You've manipulated with in-game cameras and trailer editors. It seems very plausible everything we've seen is in-game. I do believe that some of it is like manipulation, as in it's almost like the Instagram filter version of the reality of that game. Like when we play it, it will be in traditional camera angles and look, you know, I am mortal, see me bleed. Like all video games, there's a sort of slight reality crash when you see the UX on screen. But I think it was nice to hear him state emphatically, I believe this is in-game. Let's see, but I believe him.
Yeah, I think the sense that I got he was trying to put across was it is in-game, but obviously there's things and techniques that studios can use to make those in-game shots look slightly better. Like if you see people standing on a street corner, they can turn all the cars off so they don't have to render all the cars, and they can use some of that render processing to make the faces look better or the trees look a bit better. Like that kind of thing is probably happening. But essentially, I think he believed that they are in-game models, and they are just, there's just some nice camera and lighting effects going on, but nothing that you wouldn't be able to replicate in the game with, maybe there's some more background details in there or something. But it's pretty much got the sense that that should be how it's going to look, if not better, because, we've got another 12 to 16 months to wait, depending on when it comes out. You never know what might launch by then. Like the latest rumors are that there'll be a PS5 Pro by then. And is that going to push the hardware limits a bit more?
Let's see. Who knows? I mean, it looks good enough. I'm happy. Please don't spend any more longer fiddling with it, because we want it this side of 2025. So, that's all good. One other key thing I thought was really interesting. We asked, because we've been on this journey as well, and when we've been to Rockstar North, we met Leslie Benzies, we've interviewed Imran Sarwar, who was in charge of a lot of the GTA Online growth. Dan Houser, is Sam Houser, president, co-founder of Rockstar's brother, who left the company, as we described, in much debated circumstances a few years ago. Dan was unequivocally one of the editorial and voice leads. He wrote. I've seen Ned Luke, Mike from Michael. So I call him Mike like he's one of my mates. Mike from GTA 5. Michael from GTA 5. I saw him interviewed recently where someone had said to him, how significant do you think it is that Dan Houser is no longer part of Rockstar? Now, Ned Luke, knowing where his bread is buttered, obviously deferred relentlessly, but did say, I will tell you what, that guy wrote almost everything. And he said, he wrote prolifically. And this is also confirmed from your chat. It was quite clear that there was a central operations centre of people who were essentially driving the bus. Now there's nothing nefarious about that. I think that's the way studios have to be structured. If you've got what you're essentially building in a video game is the long, tall ships of our age, these incredible constructions, like a huge digital building site. You can't have 1,000 people all deciding the story's something different or there's a different direction to take. For better or for worse, some people have to put the bricks in place according to very strict instructions. I think that's just the way things are. You can't relitigate every decision with a 1,000-person democracy. But I still think it's very interesting. How would have GTA 6 looked had those characters been still in place or left? This may be a story that doesn't get told for a decade. And it might also be the story of why GTA 6 has basically taken so long to emerge. But that central leadership team that were clearly driving the car have dissolved.
Yeah. Another thing to point out, Ned Luke, recent commenter on one of our Twitter posts on GTA 6 o'clock, who, when we posted the reaction video saying we've done an 80-minute breakdown, commented saying, you only did 80 minutes, you need to up your game. So there you go. Just for you, Ned, we will make the next breakdown video 2 hours long.
Classic Mike. That's what I say
Classic
to that.
Your mate Mike.
Yeah.
Commenting on
Thank
our
you,
Twitters.
Ned. That's really lovely. Please come on our show sometime. We'd love to have you on the show.
Oh, yes, please. One final thing before we go. I did, as you would have heard, ask Mike about the Mount Chiliad mystery and if there were any plans around that. I think he didn't really know. He definitely didn't give us any extra insight into that. There didn't seem to be any big talk within the studio of this is the massive secret. So we will keep digging. We will eventually find out one day whether there was anything there or not. But this wasn't the time to do it.
Oh, and I just can't not leap in on this because I love that bit of the interview. Obviously, at that point when you asked him those questions, it was like someone had leapt in and done the mind wipe spray, like Men in Black. I can't remember that specifically. What he did say is, though, they would openly discuss internally the things they plan to put in as Easter eggs, like when they talked about the UFO parts. And he was saying there were things they planned that he was like, no way, and things that actually never made it into the game eventually. He wouldn't tell us what they were. but it shows that there is this level of like Easter eggery and threading throughout GTA. We can only expect that to continue at GTA 6. Talking about conspiracies, and there's always so much to talk about in GTA and GTA 6, what we've started doing is giving you new ways to listen to the show. We appreciate that, like last week, our 80-minute trailer breakdown, as brilliant as every minute was, is quite a heavy lift. So what we started doing is sharing the show in highlights and cutout form. So if you head to our Twitter account, you will often see little 1-minute clip outs which are just talking very directly about things we've talked about in the show, like, you know, one line, one story. You can also head to the Future Game Show, or FGS channel on YouTube, which is our sister channel, and they are hosting longer clips. So, for example, this week, if you head to the Future Game Show YouTube channel, you will find a clip which is about 8 minutes of James discussing his theories just about social media, how it works in GTA 6. And if you hop on now, you should have some stuff from us both batting back and forth about what we think the plot will be. We're experimenting with this format. Let us know what you think. But we wanted to provide another way into the show, particularly if you wanted to kind of dive in and hear our thoughts about story or map or whatever. That will be on the Future Game Show channel every week. And, of course, you still get the full fat episode every week on our regular channel.
Okay, I think that about wraps up this week's episode. Thank you, as always, very much for watching. Please let us know what you think in the comments below. As we said, let us know about anyone you would like us to interview in the future. Mike's friend, Dan's friend.
Mike's friend,
Mike.
Dan. Well, that's how he refers to me. And if you
Sure.
call me Dan, Daniel, it's absolutely fine, Mike.
Let us know in the comments. Please trundle along and follow us on Twitter or X at GTA V o'clock. We haven't quite added in the extra I in there, but you will find it if you search for GTA 6 o'clock. And we will see you again next week for another episode of GTA 6 o'clock.